Hi, and welcome to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 398, and today's date is June 23rd, 2014, and the title of this episode is U.S. Dollar at Risk as the Middle East Tensions Increase. Now, we can see what's going on out in the Middle East right now. Iraq is having a huge amount of problems. We see John Kerry on the ground trying to work with the Maliki government. At the same time, Obama is out there saying we want Maliki to step down. So they have actually two agendas going on right now. Well, one agenda is to work with the Maliki and accept other tribes and other sects into the administration of Maliki, and the other agenda is to remove Maliki. Now we have President Putin out there who's saying that he is siding now with Maliki because we have to remember Russia has lots of investment. Luke Oil is inside Russia, and we also have to remember that China plays a major role inside Iraq. They've spent billions of dollars on their infrastructure, and they do purchase the majority of the oil from Iraq. And we can see throughout the Middle East right now, the situation is getting worse in Libya, in Yemen. It is spreading now, and the violence is increasing. And if these puppet regimes should fall, what we're going to see is these countries will start trading their oil, natural resources, using other currencies. Because you have to remember, the United States government, the central bankers, have a small footprint of oil that we take from those countries. The main reason why the central bankers, U.S. government, are in these countries is because they need the dollar to be used for the transaction, to keep the dollar propped up. And we can see already China and Russia have huge investments in Iraq, and if this government should fall, the Sunnis most likely would not be kind to the U.S. government, and if the government stays intact, we can see the U.S. government was looking for Maliki to step down, and Maliki will most likely side with Putin, and eventually what will happen is they will use a different form of currency selling the oil. Let's get into the economic collapse news, and what we're seeing here out in England, 48% of Brits favor leaving the EU. A new opinion poll suggests that British people will vote to leave the European Union under its current membership. According to an Opium Observer survey published on Saturday, 48% of Britons are not satisfied with their current EU membership terms and would definitely or probably vote to leave. So we can see countries are already, and the people of these countries are saying, you know what, it's not even worth staying with the EU. I mean, first of all, it's a complete disaster. Most of these countries are in debt up to their eyeballs. It cannot be sustained, and we see huge amount of austerity. They're going to need another influx of more debt into these countries, and unemployment in most of the European countries is continually rising and rising and rising. We already see Greece right now, who's gotten 3 tranches of debt. They said they had enough. This is not working out. The IMF is not helping. Let's turn to someone else, and they turned to China to help them out. They made something like 19 deals, and they're moving forward with that, and they're looking for them to bring them out of this debt cycle that they are in, and eventually it will occur, and all of a sudden you're going to see a lot of nations saying, you know what, we do not want to be part of this EU system anymore, and it's going to completely break apart. Now, out in the UK, we see that the number of British households falling below minimum living standards has more than doubled in the past 30 years. Despite the size of the economy increasing, it doesn't matter. People are getting poorer. According to the study, 33% of households endure below par living standards, defined as going without 3 or more basic necessities of life, such as being able to adequately feed, clothe themselves and their children, and to heat and insure their homes. And everyone believed, oh, look, the economies are getting better, everything's looking great, and what we're really seeing is it's not getting better for the middle class. It's getting better for the 1%. The middle class is completely falling apart. They can't make ends meet. They can't find jobs, and this is actually starting to spread all over the place. Now, the Bank of England lost about 755 tons of gold in 2013. According to the official 2014 report, the Bank of England had 755 tons less gold in their vaults in February 2014 relative to February 2013. And they're having a tough time explaining where this gold is at this point. Now, we understand that during the end game, the government loves to place more and more taxes on the people because what's happening, the debt cannot be sustained. They need a way to bring in more revenue. They tried Obamacare. It completely did not work. It failed. They thought they were going to bring in tons and tons of revenue from this, and it has not worked. Now they're looking towards climate change, and they're also saying they're going to beef up the infrastructure because it's completely falling apart. But when you look at everything and you look at what they're doing, you know this new tax money is not going to go towards the infrastructure. But there are two senators out there who unveiled a plan Wednesday to raise federal gasoline and diesel taxes for the first time in more than 2 decades. The plan offered by Senator Chris Murphy and Bob Corker would raise the 18.4-cent federal gas tax to 24.4 cents, and they're going to do this in 2 stages. It's going to be 6 cents and then another 6 cents a little bit later on. And they said this is going to all go to the infrastructure of the United States. And we know for a fact this money is siphoned off and goes other places. A couple of reports back, I explained that they were looking to tax you on every mile that you drive, and it looks like this is starting to spread. And of course they're saying this is also going to go for the infrastructure of the United States, and you know it is not. This is going to be siphoned off because they need to bring in more and more revenue because the debt continually increases, the interest payments on this debt continually increases, and they need to bring in revenue. This is why they have FATCA. This is why they tried Obamacare. This is why they're trying climate change. They're doing all of this to bring in revenue to keep the government running. And they're saying that more than a dozen states are considering charging drivers based on just how many miles they drive. And right now people are volunteering for this, which is absolutely ridiculous. And about 18 states now are considering this program. And what will happen is they will install this box into your car. Most of the cars already have them, and they will record how many miles you drive. So if you drive 60 miles to work and 60 miles back compared to someone that drives only 10 miles, you will be taxed more. And you're going to see this, and you will get the tax bill, and you'll be paying more money to the government just so you can have the right to drive to work. Even if you're going on vacation, you will be taxed. And again, all these black boxes in these cars and additional cars that will be fitted with it that are older, they will also be able to track your movements. And you can see this is not helping the everyday person. This is actually going to hurt the everyday person. Now, we understand the economy is pretty much imploding on itself, but of course the corporate media, the federal government, they love to tell you how great everything is going. They're telling us that manufacturing is the highest it's ever been. They're also telling us that home sales have increased in May. We've seen a bump up. Well, of course we have. It's spring and summer, and normally we do, and I said this in a couple of reports back, that yes, in the spring and summer we might see a bump up, and they're out there screaming the real estate market is in recovery, everything is fine, and everything looks great. But when you look through the data and you really see what's going on, it's not exactly what they're trying to prove and how they're trying to prove that the real estate market is recovering. Right now, we see houses from around 100,000. They are down by negative 12%. Homes being sold between 100 and 250,000 are down by negative 6.1%. Homes from 250,000 to 500,000 pretty much are even. And then when you get to the higher priced homes, like the 1 million plus, you're seeing an increase of about 5.2%. So you can see the 1%ers who are buying the more expensive homes, that's where you're seeing the increase in sales. But what's very interesting when you look at this data, we're seeing the same thing that we saw in 2008. The West Coast, California, is completely imploding on itself. Homes around 100,000 are down 39.8%. Homes between 100 and 250,000 down almost 20%. Homes between 250 and 500,000 down 4.3%. So you can see it is completely falling apart. What's happening, it's falling apart to those people who can actually afford these homes. They don't have the income to purchase. And this is what we're seeing. We're seeing the everyday person, those first-time home buyers, they're non-existent in the market. What we're seeing is the very, very wealthy making a lot of money off of this market purchasing homes. And of course, as you know, this cannot be sustained, because once this spring, summer is over, and also you have to remember this corporate media is going back to May. We are in June, and we've seen another 9.2% in mortgage originations completely plummet and fall, and it is not working out like they say. They're always reporting on a month back. So right now, going forward, we are not seeing any more of the bump. We're seeing the slide. And when I look around the country, I look in the Northeast, I look in the West, I look in the South, and I'm seeing more and more homes on the market for 60, 90, 120 days. And of course, now they're starting the same thing they did in 2008. They're dropping the realtor where they told them to drop the price. They get rid of the realtor. They get another realtor. They raise the price back up, and they try again. And they're chasing the market. They don't realize what's going on, and everything is starting to decline. And of course, everyone thinks that people are going to pay these high, high prices, and what we're seeing is that they're not. Now, as we know, Russia and China are making a deal to create this pipeline. And of course, the Western media is out there saying that, Russia, they don't have the funds to build this. They don't have the money. China doesn't have the money to build this type of pipeline. Where are they going to get it? Well, Russia has figured out a way on how to raise the funds to create and put together this pipe deal. And right now, Russia has managed to find an ingenious way around the problem. According to fund rules, at least 45% to be invested in dollar-denominated instruments issued by the U.S. Treasury or financial institutions like Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corporation or Federal National Mortgage Association. In order to help Gazprom build its pipeline to China, the National Wealth Fund would have to sell some of its dollar-based assets. Basically, the Russian government is swapping investments in America debt for investment in gas infrastructure to link Russia with China. U.S. T-bills, the pipeline to China can't be targeted by Western sanctions. The pipeline can't be frozen or confiscated. Putin's advisor Sergei believes that if the U.S. does escalate its sanctions against Russia, all treasury bills held by the Russian state would be written off. If that were true, paying for Gazprom's pipeline will fund with funds raised by selling dollar bonds would be thoroughly a prudent move. So what they're doing is they're dumping the dollar assets to build this pipeline. And they're going to continually do this. We know Russia is on the move to completely separate itself from the Western banking system. They're trying to de-dollarize right now, and they're pushing their agenda forward. Now, as we know, down south, we have a lot of illegal immigrants coming over the border. And what's very interesting from the fedbizops.gov website reveals the Department of Homeland Security has been expecting and planning for this urgent situation since January. The post placed online January 29th alerts private businesses that DHS and U.S. Immigration and Custom Enforcement agents, or ICE, would be seeking sources willing to serve as escort services for unaccompanied alien children. The Post even clarifies there will be approximately 65,000 UAC in total, and explains the contractor hired may need to provide temporary shelter and showers, as bed space for the UAC may be unavailable nationwide for extended periods of time. So they already knew, they planned this out, and they are trying to bring in more and more immigrants, because what is President Obama trying to do? He's trying to pass the immigration bill. And by doing this, he figured he can flood the U.S. market with illegal immigrants, force the Congress to pass this bill, and of course, allow them to vote, allow them to purchase his medical insurance, allow him to work for cheap labor, and you can see how this is all playing into the same system right now. And as we know, down in Texas, they're setting up a man wall where they're having militias come down to that area to help block these immigrants from crossing the border into the United States. Now, the corporate media, the U.S. government is telling the corporate media to stay out of the area. Now, the question is, why don't they want the corporate media in this area filming this and taking a look, or any other type of media? Because they don't want anyone to know what is really going on. But we see a lot of local stations are out there, and they're filming it, and they're saying that, yes, the border agents are just letting them come in without even stopping them, and this is why the militias are being called up and being sent to Texas right now. We also know the U.S. government central bankers want to disarm the American people, and they're pushing this agenda forward. It is not about gun safety. It's not about the safety of the children. It's not about anything like that whatsoever. What it's about is disarming the American people, because right now they're promoting, the UN is promoting jobs for the disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration officers. And this Dabu 7, I have to say, he looked into this, he found out, he has a video on this. I'm just going to mention a little bit here. These positions are located in field missions of peace operations, and this is the experience that you need: a minimum of 7 years of progressively responsible experience in disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration or related areas, experience with small arms controls, and post-conflict crisis management. Now, we can see they are building this, and we understand that they have the UN Arms Treaty pending in the Senate. We also understand they have the Dianne Feinstein bill pending in the Senate, and other bills that have gun control wrapped around it. And every single time there's an event, what happens is the Senate looks to pass these bills. And right now, Harry Reid may call for a vote on gun control. Harry Reid said Tuesday that he may call for a vote on so-called universal background check legislation. The article noted that Reid said he had no expectation the legislation would pass, but the vote would help highlight the differences between the two parties when it comes to gun control. We need some more votes, Reid said, but it may be a good thing to bring up right now just to send the American people another message. So they are really pushing this, and what I say from all of this that I'm seeing, they don't have enough votes right now. So you can expect another event to occur that has to do with weapons, with a mass shooting, and it will get worse and worse as time goes on, and they're going to continually doing this until they can get these bills passed. This has everything to do with removing the people of their weapons, disarming them, and making it easier for the government to control the people of the United States. Now, the Polish foreign minister is out there, and he is saying that the alliance with the United States is absolutely worthless. A Polish news magazine said on Sunday it had obtained a secret recording of Foreign Minister Sikorski in a contention for senior European Union jobs, saying that Poland's relationship with the United States was absolutely worthless. It is downright harmful because it creates a false sense of security. And he is going on and on about this, and he does not believe that the United States is going to come if war does break out. And you can see right now it's going to be pretty much everyone on their own when World War III really starts. Now, Poroshenko is out there in Ukraine, and he's saying that he wants a dialogue with the Ukraine of the eastern provinces. He wants to talk to them. And as he's saying this, the Ukrainian troops are continually shelling Slavyansk. Water and power supplies remain disrupted. They don't have any of that right now. And what we're finding out is that the Ukraine military, the paid mercenaries, have set up minefields right outside Slavyansk, the Donetsk regions, and civilians are getting killed on this minefield when they're trying to cross. And of course, why would you need to set up minefields in this area? Why are you trying to blow people up if they're trying to cross? Even civilians, anyone, is unbelievable, and it's just unbelievable that they would do this. And there are children, there's women, there's men trying to escape, and they're going into the field and they are blowing up. Now, Russia is out there and they're saying, yes, we want some type of agreement and a dialogue where Ukraine and the people of the southeastern region, they need to talk, and they need to talk now and come up with some type of solution. And the Donetsk People's Republic saying, yes, we will talk if the Kiev junta government pulls back its troops. And I've said this before. They need to show that, yes, we really want this peace. If they pull back, the people of the southeast region will then pull back and have talks. But again, Ukraine puppet government, they are not pulling back. They're continually doing what they do, and that is continually shelling the southeast region. Now, Poroshenko has just issued warrants for the leaders of Donetsk. Now, this is very strange because he wants peace. He's telling everyone, here's my ultimatum, lay down your weapons, give up, surrender, and this is peace. Well, we know it's not peace because what's going to happen, like I said before, is either they're all going to die, but instead he's going to arrest them, then kill them. So it looks like this whole peace talk is a lot of lip service, and all they're trying to do is get everyone to drop their weapons so they can go in there, get rid of all those people, and bring all these people back into the Ukraine. That is the peace plan, which is really no peace plan right now whatsoever. And right now, Kiev's district court has issued arrest warrants for 11 leaders of the Donetsk People's Republic and Lugansk People's Republic. So we can see right now, once you do this, this is not about peace. This is not about everyone, okay, you can come back into the fold of Ukraine. This is about, once you drop your weapons, our forces are coming in, we're taking over, you're going to prison, and that is the end of it. And we can see this is how it is really shaping up to be. Now, the Yemen government, they are out there and they're trying to convince everyone that the people who are fighting are not even Yemen. They're not even, they're saying these Al-Qaeda fighters, they're made up of all different people from around the world. Well, they're using this as propaganda. Right now, they're trying to convince everyone that they don't have an uprising of the people, but in case they actually do. And, of course, the people, and of course they like to call them Al-Qaeda, the terrorists, and this allows the U.S. government to use drones on them, because otherwise, if they're not called Al-Qaeda, they would not be able to use drone attacks on them, because the Congress allows the president this type of action against Al-Qaeda terrorists. So that's why they call everyone Al-Qaeda out there. And right now, the people of Yemen are saying that the majority of our fighters are from the sons of this Muslim country who share the fraternity of religion and are rooted in their tribe. So he's saying that no, the people who are fighting are the people from this country, and we want our country back. We want the puppet regime out. We want the central bankers out, and we want our country back. And of course, what's happening is the situation in Libya, in Yemen, Iraq is really starting to build up. The central bankers, U.S. government, they are losing control of the situation, and they're trying to figure out all different ways to create a way to control the situation, and it doesn't seem like it's working at this time. Now, in Iraq, we can see that Putin is giving all his support to Maliki. We understand that Lukoil has contracts within Iraq. We can see Maliki's government has contracts with the Russian government for providing arms. And right now it looks like the Sunni militants have killed the judge who sentenced Saddam Hussein to death. And from all of this, what we're seeing is the United States government is supporting Maliki, but not supporting Maliki, asking him to step down if he can't get the situation under control. We see the Sunni militants now have killed the judge the judge that executed Saddam Hussein. So from all this, what we're seeing is if Maliki stays in power, he's going to take the message from the United States government that, well, you know what, you wanted me to step down, I'm still in power. Looks like I'm going to be pointing towards Russia at this time. The Sunni militants, if they take control and force Maliki out, we can see from their actions by killing the judge who executed Saddam Hussein, who was under the control of the United States government, the Sunni people might not really befriend the United States. They might turn to Russia also. And what that means is that the oil in the region might change from the US dollar to yuan, renminbi, or ruble, because we have to remember China has a huge amount of investment in Iraq. They use most of the oil, they purchase most of the oil from Iraq, and Russia the same. So we can see that when this goes forward, how the situation turns out, it might be a losing proposition for the United States. And this is why they're not going to let this happen. This is why they're going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing until they can get something going where they can bring in and start some type of conflict where the United States needs to get in there with boots on the ground, airstrikes, and that will bring in Russia and eventually China, eventually Iran, and again, all the players are the same, and we will have World War III. Now, it seems like the Iraqi forces have taken over the Baji oil refinery since the Sunni militants have taken over. Looks like now they swapped hands, and the Iraqi forces now have control of the biggest oil refinery, and we'll have to see how that goes as time goes on. Syria right now has handed over all its chemical weapons. So this means the treaty has completed. Everything is fine. But of course, the Western governments are still out there, and their mission is still to investigate the numerous ambiguities in Syria's chemical weapons declaration and several alleged chlorine gas attacks. Western officials, citing U.S., French, British intelligence, have said that Assad's government failed to disclose all of its toxic chemicals and could still use chemical arms in the conflict. So they're still going with that story, even though Syria has now removed all chemical weapons from its arsenal, and it is on a ship to be destroyed. Of course, the United States is controlling the ship, and it's being shipped out to be destroyed. Now, we see there's some propaganda in the news where Israel is saying that Syria took an anti-tank weapon fired into Israel, and this is complete propaganda. What would be the motivation for Syria to do this? And if you notice, what Israel did is they hit 9 Syrian military targets. Now, why would they hit military targets for this so-called anti-tank missile going off? Of course, they did it because it's strategic to their mission to take over Assad. And you have to remember, the paid mercenaries are being paid by Israel, Arab nations, and the United States government. And this was set up as a false flag to get Israel in there to bomb these strategic locations, and that's exactly what they did. This is what President Obama is trying to do. This is why he's saying there's no geographic region, there's no area that's off limits, because they want to use the airstrikes in Syria to really bomb those strategic areas in Syria so the paid mercenaries can move in. And this is their plan. This is what they're trying to do. And of course, Assad is out there, and they condemn the raids, the Israeli raids inside Syria, as a violation of territory. They're citing a treaty of 1974, and they're saying this is absolutely restricted, and there was no right for you to fly into our airspace and bomb military targets. Obama is still out there, and he's continuing with the threats from ISIS or ISIL. Al-Qaeda-inspired militants who have violently seized territory in Iraq could grow in power and destabilize other countries in the region, President Barack Obama warned on Sunday. The Iraqi public will ultimately reject the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, the extremist Sunni group threatening Iraq's government, but the group still represents a medium and long-term threat to the United States, Obama said. And of course, they're continually building this up, and we have other senators out there. We have McCain out there. We have Feinstein out there. We have Rogers out there. We have many of them out there saying, and of course, we can't forget about England. They're all out there saying that there is a huge threat looming. They are going to come back, and they're going to wreak havoc on both of these countries. It's going to be worse than 9/11. And again, They are building this propaganda up so everyone believes when this false flag event occurs, we know where to look. And they're going to use this to get into Iraq and then into Syria. Because at this point in time, it seems like they have no ability to do this, no way of getting in there. And I don't think Congress right now or the people of America are going to vote for war. And right now, the only way to get in there is to have some type of false flag event. Now, what's very interesting is that in North Dakota Game and Fish Department, a recent audit shows failed to account for 100 of their 784 guns. Right now, 10 weapons are missing from that area. The agency doesn't know where they went. Now, could this be used as a false flag event for another mass shooting? It could be, but we're seeing more and more of this occur lately. Now, there are a few reports out there saying ISIS, ISIL, they have obtained a nuclear weapon, and I think this is coming out of Israel right now, and they're saying that this group will eventually use this on Israel, and I just cannot believe that ISIS and ISIL found a nuclear weapon someplace, and they're broadcasting where they're going to use it, just like we're seeing all these reports come in from the social media where ISIS and ISIL are reporting how they're going to blow up America, blow up England, how they're mocking Michelle Obama and President Obama. This is absolute propaganda. They're out there letting everyone know that ISIS and ISIL are terrible. They're coming to get the people in the United States, and this is all in preparation for the next false flag event. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.